let's focus on what people can do if they're exercised by your arguments to keep this liberal inheritance going longer. You're doing some good stuff in the real world, working with companies and what have you behind the scenes to help them remain liberal in their outlook, in their treatment of their employees and their customers. If there are people listening who are working for organizations or even just thinking about how they engage politically, what would you advocate for them to do in the real world to try to keep this way of seeing alive?
Okay, so there's quite a lot of rather detailed advice I would give to employers about how to set up policies, but I think that might be getting too much into the weeds. So what I would say is I would recommend 4 things generally for the average person to do in the real world, and that is first of all to have a strong understanding of the liberal tradition. From John Stuart Mill, and in particular, and from Edmund Burke. So from left, Adam Smith. Just I don't mean you have to read everything that ever existed, but have this grounding in this sense of letting people live as they see fit, provided it doesn't hurt anyone else. Of reform over revolution, this evolving practice which wants to preserve what is good over and reform for what is better. And I think that the second thing is to recognize liberalism as your responsibility rather than just your right. If you are concerned that your freedoms of speech, belief and speech are not being protected and you are not living in a liberal society, make sure that you yourself are protecting other people's. So if we can make a commitment to do this, if you are a leftist and you see a conservative being silenced, then speak up for that. If you are a Christian and you see a Muslim getting bashed, defend their right to believe, and the other way round. So this is part of the third thing of trying not to entrench into groups, because when we have a sense of existential threat, which so many people do right now, what the temptation is to return into an identity group and to defend that group and to conform to that group. And this then I think activates what we were talking about earlier, which is that very tribal mentality. And people are then seeing whole collectives of people. I just saw before I came on here, someone was saying, look, here's a woman complaining that chivalry is dead, but women demanded equality. How is this? Like, they're different women. Why is this hard? So trying to stop entrenching into groups which we treat as individuals and seeing things as a zero-sum game. And I would also really recommend people to look at countries and history in which there hasn't been a strong liberal tradition, those which are much less liberal than we are. Recognize how liberal society still is, what that does allow you to do and to live, and how it has benefited you, and then defend that tradition. If you are a progressive type, defend liberalism because it has been the best thing for getting women, racial minorities, same-sex couples, equal rights, and it can continue doing so. If you are a more cultural conservative type, recognize that you cannot conserve Western civilization without conserving that liberal tradition.